With OpenAI's assistants, you can build basically anything, even if you aren't a programmer. My name is Ondrej and I'll walk you through everything step by step. That way you can build your very first assistant and deploy it today. Now, you have to go to platform.openai.com. Here you log in with the same account as you have on ChatGPT. Go to assistants on the left and let's create a new one. Obviously you can name it whatever. I'm just gonna name it Caps Locker. Instructions, obviously here you can put all the crazy stuff like answer directly and concisely. You can also go a bit more fun, reply only in full caps. Model, right? Obviously this is the LLM. Here we have the main options, but you can also click on show more models to see all the different previews and snapshots, right? Okay, tools, file search. So if you have your own PDFs, docs, you would enable file search and attach the files here. Code interpreter, this is for running codes, generating graphs, doing math. If you want your agent to be able to do any sort of calculation, definitely enable code interpreter. Otherwise the LLM will do it and yeah, that's a disaster. Functions, here you can upload your own function, right? So this is the JSON schema and this is how we would format it. OpenAI has two examples, get weather and get stock prices, but basically you can rename this to anything you want, like maybe, I don't know, get latest AI news, right? I mean, this just unlocks so many things, right? If you want to build advanced agents, for example, you want to build your own functions. Okay, yeah, response format, I should mention this. So this is very useful if it's going to another agent or to some program, then you probably want to enable JSON object, and this will just format the output. It will be formatted in a nice JSON. Temperature, now this is very important. You know, the easy way to explain this is as creativity, but it's more like randomness. ChatGPT default is 0.7, right? And when it goes lower, the more deterministic it is, or the less random. Now the next step is to actually test our agent. But before we do that, I have to show you something. For the next 6 days, everyone who joins the community gets a personalized AI strategy to future-proof yourself and your business. So if you want access to the smartest people at the cutting edge of AI, if you want complete guide on how to prepare for the post-AGI world, then make sure to join. It's the first link in the description. And by the way, the price is going up soon. So if you are thinking about joining, do it now. So in order to test the assistant we've just built, simply click on this playground icon in the top right, and this will go to the OpenAI playground with the assistant loaded as the preset, right? So as you can see, everything is on the left and we can actually change it while experimenting with it, which is amazing. And let's just give it a prompt, right? Explain the core difference between OpenAI and Anthropic. Let's see what it says. You know, it's an OpenAI assistant, so should be biased. OpenAI and Anthropic both focus on AI research, but OpenAI has a long history and has released more widely known products like GPT, while Anthropic is newer and focused on AI safety. Okay, pretty fair answer, I would say. So yeah, and as you can see, this playground has so many useful things, right? So we can see the tokens, the input tokens and output tokens. So this is 42 tokens. And this is 62 tokens. As you can see, it looks much longer, but it matters how much it's chunked up, right? So, and also, by the way, this also includes the system prompt. So that's why it's 42. It's not just this. This is not 42. And yeah, thread ID. This is what I'll show you in a bit when we get to VS Code. Thread ID, this is basically chat, right? Inside of ChatGPT, you have multiple chats. When you create a new chat, it's separate session completely. In Assistants, it's called a thread. So this is the unique thread ID, and you can always call this in your code and build on top of this. The most important thing, however, is the assistant ID. This refers to our caps locker, the system we've built, and this you can actually have multiple different assistants in your code in the same thread, which is like super useful because maybe one assistant does research, one assistant does summarization. You can all have them in the same thread, calling upon each other and building the messages. On the top right, you can also see the files where you can add the files if you want. Let's say it's a PDF, image, or whatever. And if you want the assistant to have access to that, just add it in here, right? Now, if you click on logs, we can actually see what's happening behind the scenes in the code. So if I expand on add a message, we can see the request, role user, and then my prompt. In the response, we can see the ID of this message, then the object, which is the thread message, created at, which is the time. Assistant ID is null, which is interesting. I guess that's determined right here. Yeah. Okay. But thread ID is determined here because this is just, the reason it's null because it's me, it's my request, you know, so it's the user, it's not assistant. So yeah, role user. Run the thread, so it sets the assistant's ID and then says no additional instructions and no extra tool choice, and the rest is just the response stream. Now you're probably thinking, okay David, but how do I actually deploy this in my code? Well, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Here is an empty Python file and we're going to start by importing time. This is actually not part of the OpenAI Assistants, but you'll see in a bit why we need that. And by the way, this template is inspired by Pixagami. His video will be below in the description. So then from OpenAI, we import OpenAI, and those are all the imports we need, just 2 imports. And again, if you aren't a programmer, simply follow along what I'm doing, and all of the code will be in the community, by the way. So now we need to define the assistant ID. So we do ID equals, and we get the assistant ID. And remember, we get it here, or we can just go back to the builder, right, caps locker, and it is right here as well. So click to copy, and we have to set it into our variable. So assistant's ID equals, and we just paste it in. Super simple. Next, we have to define the client, right? The OpenAI client. And here we can actually parse the API key in the constructor, or the alternative is to set it, you know, as an environment variable like OpenAI API key. Well, actually, you have to export OpenAI API key equals, and then you do SK blah blah blah. So this is the way if you want to have it as an environment variable in your environment, or if you just want to do it as a constructor, you can do it like so. Obviously here we have to replace it. To get your API key, it's super simple. Again, you go to platform.openai.com, and on the left, you click on API keys. So that is platform.openai.com. Click on API keys and create a new secret key. I'm just going to name it Assistants API. Create secret key. By the way, I am going to revoke this before uploading the video. Never share your keys with anybody. So click on copy. Let's go back to VS Code and we replace this with our API key. Oh, by the way, make sure you're in the correct environment, because if you're not, you probably don't have the dependencies, which I should probably show you, right? So inside of the terminal, in the environment, you have to actually install OpenAI. So you do pip install OpenAI. And if you are not sure whether you have it or not, you can just check by doing upgrade, and this will show you that you have the latest version, right? So this is the only thing you have to install, pip install OpenAI. And again, the way to do that is to go into the terminal, create a new terminal, and type it in here. Next, we actually need to create the chat or a thread. It's called a thread in the Assistants API, but I will refer to it as a chat because everybody knows ChatGPT and how chats work inside of it, right? So chat equals client.beta.threads.create. And you have to follow this exact format, otherwise you will get an error. Oh yeah, by the way, this is client. Inside of here, we have to define 2 things, the role and the content. So role, user. Yes, we are the user, we are not the assistant. Now the content, right? So we can ask any question, but I like this question. Who is the greatest businessman of all time? And we'll see what assistant replies with. It's honestly debatable, but yeah, this is, by the way, the prompt. So your prompt here. Change this to change the prompt you get from the agent, right? From the assistant. I keep saying agent, man. But yeah, this is the formatting for the thread or chat. Make sure it's correct, otherwise it will not work. Now we can actually run it by generating a new response. So go run equals client beta threads run, and then thread ID needs to be whatever you name this. So I name it chat, so chat.id, and assistant ID equals ID of our assistant. And the next, a simple debugging statement, print run created and with the run ID. So this will keep us updated on what's happening. Now in this step, you'll see why we need the time package. So we have to actually wait until the run is finished or otherwise completed before we ask for the response. Otherwise we cannot print anything, right? So we can solve that with a simple while loop. So while run status is not equal to completed. So exclamation point equal means not equal. So while the status of our run is not completed, we want to retrieve the current state of the run and print the status with run.status, and then wait for half a second until we do it again. And then this is important because we do else, and this means, you know, if the run is completed, if the status equals completed, then we simply print out run completed. Now the last thing is to extract the message response from the threads. So we do that by doing message response, name of our variable, client.beta.threads. So this will access the thread. That's why we need to define the thread ID. .message.list, and this is just a list of all the messages in our thread. Then we do another variable, messages equals message response.data. We just get the data from this variable. And in order to print this, we have to access the first instance of that list. So every list in programming starts with 0. So to get the first one, we have to do index 0. And then we just print it. Print response, and this is an F string. That way we can use variables inside of the string. And then latest messages .content, again 0 to access the first index, .text, .value. And this will just give us the text of that message. So let's see if it works. And our terminal crashed. I don't know why this keeps happening, but for some reason, Avast antivirus just destroys my terminal. I don't know if any of you have a solution for this, but I would greatly appreciate it. So I don't know why that keeps happening, but let's try it again. Okay, run created. We have our ID. Okay, this is interesting. So as you can see, we have created run. It was in progress for roughly a second, and then the response is here. That is subjective, but many would say John D. Rockefeller. So who is the greatest businessman of all time? John D. Rockefeller. I think that's a pretty fair answer. So now you know how to build your assistant with OpenAI Assistants and how to deploy it in your code. Now, all of this code will be inside of the community. I'll show you how to access it. So if you go to the classroom, click on David's proprietary software and code, then expand upon code, and it's right here. OpenAI Assistants API, all of the code and all the other resources are available in the community, just as well as all the code from other videos and a community of people at the cutting edge of AI. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to join. It's the first link in the description. Thank you for watching.